you've got these absolutely smug, again, like Slotkin, like snide, overeducated, elite libs who are just sliding in the dagger on Pete in a way that, I'm just an elite, know everything. And so I can tell you he's an idiot. I totally respect your service. I believe you care. But what are you so afraid of? That was that was Slotkin. But now here's a woman named Catherine Rampell. And we looked up Slotkin. She went to Columbia and Cornell. But now here comes this woman, and I'm going to let you know who she is. Her name is Catherine Rampell. She's on one of those insufferable CNN panels with the terrible Abby Phillip, who, again, is like mild-mannered, but has never seen a Republican who's done the right thing. I just want to take control to say that Republicans are bad. They're even worse than you thought. That's Abby Phillip. So she's running the panel. Catherine Rampell comes on. And you would think that Catherine Rampell would know a thing or two about Pete and his background because I looked her up too. And guess what she has for her educational background? Well, she has a bachelor's from Princeton. Princeton. How do we know that school in connection with this story? Oh, yeah, Pete went there. And unlike Catherine Rampell, both of whose parents went to Princeton, which, newsflash, makes it a lot easier to get into Princeton. That wasn't the case for Pete. So she goes out on to, and by the way, her major was anthropology. I'm sure she learned a lot. That would qualify her to be opining on the Sec of Defense, or not. But in any event, CNN thought she'd be an adequate commentator. Why? Because of her long history in military? No, she has absolutely nothing to do with the military, the Pentagon, etc. In fact, before she was at the Washington Post, she was at the New York Times as a theater critic. But here she is telling us why Pete was chosen for this job.
Yes, he was very articulate and polished, and he's a TV host. That's his main qualification. I know in TV we sometimes get confused.
Why do you denigrate this man's service? I don't understand. 20 years,
Scott,
decorated,
okay. Scott,
Ivy Leaguer. He's a TV host. Scott. That's all he is. That's not his main qualification.
That is his main.
He said he's a TV host. It's his main qualification.
It is his personal.
You're denigrating this man's qualifies you.
Not every member who serves deserves to be in charge of the DOD.
She said his main qualification is that he's a TV host, and I'm sorry, that's just baloney.
Do you think he would have been chosen
His main qualification is that he's a warfighter, and he's going to be the closest warfighter we've ever had to the enlisted people running the Pentagon.
In the longer clip, then Abby Phillip comes in and says, you shouldn't denigrate the service of the generals who have been at the top of the Defense Department before by saying that, Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings is like, how am I denigrating them by saying he is closer to the enlisted men than anybody who's ever held this position? But that's Abby Phillip. There cannot be a discussion that doesn't wind in her fake fact-checking with hard left spin. Signed, Abby Phillip. Back to this woman, Catherine Rampell. All right, so she, the theater critic, would like us to know that the main qualification, those were her words, for Pete to have been nominated is because he's a TV host. So Scott Jennings says, why do you denigrate his service? Then comes Abby Phillip. She didn't do that. Okay, how is it not denigrating his tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Gitmo, the vast majority of his adult life, by saying his main qualification for this job was his stint on Fox and Friends? Fuck you, Catherine Rampell, because that is denigrating his service. His service is the reason he got the job. I guarantee you, Trump is more familiar with Brian Kilmeade than he is with Pete Hegseth. I guarantee you he's been watching Brian Kilmeade for longer, has probably called and texted Brian Kilmeade over the years longer, and knows him a lot better. But he did not nominate Brian Kilmeade because he wasn't just looking for a Fox and Friends morning host to run the Pentagon. It's Pete's lifetime of service while in the armed services and afterward, working for veterans, that got him this job. And perhaps Trump wouldn't know about him if he hadn't gotten a job on Fox. But that's what opened the door, not what got him the job. You're so disrespectful and disgusting. But that is what the elite thinks of our military, and certainly of any Trump supporter. Never mind people who are going to wind up in the cabinet. It's absolutely disgusting. And this is what Pete and Trump and Pam Bondi, who we'll get to, she's on the hot seat right now, I've got some stuff on her, are going to be facing when they take over, that they're the chewing gum underneath the sneaker, and they're too stupid and scared to really understand how things ought to be run. Just ask Abby Phillip. She will tell you why he doesn't belong there and the other people do. Okay, moving on. Who am I reminding myself of? Is it a Peanuts character? I just thought I'll think about it and you guys will think about it and you'll tell me. It's Megyn at MegynKelly.com. Okay, speaking of Fox, I know when you were gearing up for this confirmation hearing of Pete, which is truly one of the most, if not the most consequential of the Trump picks, what you were asking yourself, same as me, was what does Gretchen Carlson think? Gee, I wonder who? But PBS decides that Gretchen Carlson's opinion would be really important to get right now. And this was her take.
There's some initial concern from Republican senators about these allegations against Hegseth. It seems as though many are prepared to vote to confirm him. What does it say that an allegation of sexual assault does not appear to be disqualifying?
It says the power of Donald Trump. That's the first thing that I would mention. But it also is frustrating for those of us who work in this advocacy space to see that even, allegations of drinking too much or mismanaging other nonprofits that Hegseth ran, that those seem to climb to the top of the list ahead of any kind of a sexual assault or sexual harassment claim.
Okay. He's not been accused of sexually harassing anybody. Did that come up yesterday? No. The best they had was somebody at one of those veterans charities may have allegedly harassed somebody at a strip club trip that Pete wasn't present for. And I believe it was Sean Parnell who was present and came out on the record saying Pete wasn't there. He was not there. So what are you talking about, Gretchen Carlson? You can only be talking about one thing, and that is the alleged rape accusation. Did you go through the report line by line? Because you know as well as I do, you know better than anyone that I will stand up for women, even those I can't stand, if I think they've made a valid allegation. You know that better than anyone. And I spent a day going through that woman's police report, line by line. And I'm telling you, that woman's not telling the truth. That's my strong legal and journalistic opinion. And I've gone through it episodes and episodes ago in great detail to explain why. Have you? How dare you get out there and wonder why this fake, clearly fake allegation is not disqualifying for him? Get talking about it. What have you looked at? When was she drugged, Gretchen? She was fine at 1:30 in the morning. She was fine at 4 a.m., according to 3 eyewitnesses, 2 videos, and her husband on the back end. Are those not reliable for you? This is not Pete Hegseth's word. It's independent eye and videotape witnesses and her marital partner saying she was fine, not drugged. When did Pete date, rape, drug her, and then rape her? It is an impossibility, which is why he was not charged. So shame on you. Shame on you for using the money you managed to extract out of Fox News for this nonsense, to try to push these bullshit claims because you want to see your face on television. And by the way, when you do a Zoom, don't go right in front of the laptop because it makes your face look huge. That's advice to Gretchen and everybody else for that matter. I find that absolutely abhorrent. And just for the record, because I mentioned it, and that whole Fox News thing, just as a point of clarification, when I came forward to talk about what happened between Roger and yours truly, it was not because I believed Gretchen Carlson. It was not because I believed for 1 minute that she had been harassed. Not for 1 minute. It was because I was worried others might be. Because she laid the allegation that he might be this thing on the table. But I don't believe that's why Gretchen lost her job for 1 second, not for 1 second. She laid the allegation out there, and finally the company was getting ready to look into it. And in the wake of that, women started speaking up about what was happening to them. So I just want to be clear that it wasn't her particular circumstances that inspired me, or I think most people over there, to do anything. How dare she come out and try to disparage him this way? Someone who'd been a colleague of hers for quite some time. And I guarantee she never saw him drunk. And if she says she did, it's not true. All of Fox and Friends co-hosts have said never, never, ever. And we spent hours upon hours with him, right? I mean, all of the on the record character defenses of Pete have been under people's actual names, stars that you would know. All the Fox and Friends morning crew, all the scurrilous allegations have been anonymous and behind the scenes. Too much time on her. She's irrelevant. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. There's a reason why gold is a diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text MK to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. And gold can be your hedge against a weakened dollar. Birch Gold can convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text MK to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. No obligation, just information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, and thousands of happy customers, find out more about Birch Gold today. Text MK to the number 989898 to figure out your diversification options today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.